All right, hello guys. I wanted to make another video for you, but we're having some technical issues, so we're gonna kind of fake this as best we can. We're making fried rice today. So in terms of ingredients, I have like 5 cloves of garlic. I have an onion. I have 2 carrots that I peeled already, and I have some peas, some leftover peas, and some light soy sauce, and I have 2 eggs as well. And we'll talk about what to do with the eggs later, as well as 2 cups of rice. I want to show you something about the rice. You see the rice here is sitting in a plate. A lot of people tell you you need old, like day-old rice to make fried rice. But actually, something that's just as good is if you make your own fresh rice, but then let it sit in a plate like that for a little bit. Because what happens is you need the moisture to evaporate, and it does a good job of evaporating over time. But also, you can, if you spread it out like that and your rice is still hot, it will evaporate. So I have a pan over here that you can't see. It's got some oil and actually some butter in it. Turn the heat on, and we're going to start by frying up some onions. So while that heats up, I'm going to peel my onion. I'm trying to make sure you can see as much of this as you can. I'm not sure the photo booth app on my MacBook went haywire, so we're struggling a little bit with technology today. So there's my onion. Here's another view that we haven't really used before. Again, we go our onion in half. And then I actually like to go this way because what happens is the layers of the onions will cut themselves, will kind of split themselves up for you. And then we just go down, get a dice on the onion. So fried rice is great for leftovers. I'm making a veggie fried rice today. But you could make with any kind of meat you want, any kind of meat you have left over. It's actually really good with like leftover barbecue. If you want to pick some spare ribs clean, or if you have some brisket or something like that, I really like fried rice for that. Instead of using like soy sauce, then you can use like some barbecue sauce or something like that. It's really a pretty good way to make leftovers. I also make what we call at home like an Italian fried rice, which has sausage in it and like Italian seasonings. So like this technique is really, you can use it for a lot of things, not just what we're making right now. So I'm going to keep trying to make sure I'm in the camera. So we're going to start by sauteing an onion in our oil and butter. Now, butter is not traditional, but I had some melted butter from something else I was making. And it is delicious. Now I'm gonna peel my garlic. We've talked about this a few times. Just take the ends off the garlic. The ends off the garlic. Can't see what I'm doing, of course. Right, then I would kind of clean that up a little bit just so we have room to work. And give the garlic a little smash to loosen the skins, and the skins should come right off. If they don't come right off, a little bigger smash. It's all getting chopped up anyway. The only time you really have to be careful with, I cut the wrong end of this garlic off, that's okay. The only time you have to really be careful with how much you're going to smash your garlic before you peel it, you see it just releases right away, is when, if you want sliced garlic for something like garlic and oil with pasta, or anytime you care about the kind of the presentation of sliced garlic, then you can't smash it too much. But if it's just not releasing, smash it a little more. We're going to break it all down anyway. Okay. So our garlic's peeled. We got our onions going here. I'm gonna do actually before I add the garlic, I'm gonna add the carrots because they need to cook for a little while. We can just cut them into rounds. We want kind of thin rounds, so they'll cook up. We don't have any raw carrots in our fried rice. If you struggle cutting carrots into rounds, I'll show you what to do for the next carrot. Essentially, the answer is don't cut them into rounds. What you can do is, right, because carrots like to, see, they're very slippery. Carrots like to roll. So you just cut them in half first. And then you can lay them on a flat side and they'll cut up nice. So you don't have to care too much about being super precise when you do this. This is very much like a rough and ready dish. You don't have to have everything cut the same size. It's not really all that much about presentation. It's just about getting everything in there and cooked. So if you ever notice, I was going pretty fast there. I had a couple pieces that maybe are a little too big. Cut them in half, not a big deal. Let's get that in there and tossed. All right. Then we'll just toss it around. What I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna add a little pepper to that. Again, we can't really see. Add a little pepper. And now I'm actually gonna add a little salt. Now soy sauce is kind of very high in salt, but we also want to draw some moisture out of these onions, and the salt will help do that. So just a little bit. I'll get that back on the flame. I guess the hot metal or whatever electric stove is made out of. I'll just chop our garlic up. Again, it doesn't have to be super precise. I'm looking for flavor here. Now, you can really put it as whatever you want in this rice. It'd be nice to fry some peppers in it right now. It'd be nice to include some ginger if you had it. There's a lot you can add to this to make it really a pretty tasty dish. And I really like it just for like whatever kind of leftovers I got. I was going to make this chicken fried rice actually because I have some leftover chicken, but I decided to make chicken soup out of that instead. So we're just getting a veggie fried rice today, which is delicious. So I just added my garlic. You see everything starting to cook a little bit. I get that stirred in. Right, this is very much a quick dish. So get that stirred in. And really, you're going to keep going at this point until your garlic looks like it's maybe cooking a little too much, right? So burnt garlic is very bitter. It's pretty gross. So whenever you're working with garlic, you want to add it at a point where, you got a couple minutes really until it starts to overcook. So if you add it too soon to something, you'll just have burnt garlic. So it's really about timing with it. And it's garlic itself is maybe my favorite thing to cook with. If you think about it, it's in like all cultures. It's in Italian culture, it's in Asian cultures, it's in Middle Eastern cultures, Greek culture. Everyone uses garlic. So it's a kind of very versatile flavor. So just letting this cook up. And what we're going to add next is I have here is light soy sauce. Now that looks very light. It's okay. Now what we're going to do with it is actually we're going to add it to our vegetables before we add the rice and let it cook for say a minute or two. What that does is that kind of gets the, it kind of toasts it a little bit, honestly. And it gives you a little bit of the flavor that you get from good Chinese food, which has a little bit of a smokiness to it. So we're going to add that in there right now. And I'm going to get that back on the flame. Notice I didn't add a ton. It might have been, less than a quarter of a cup, right? You don't want too much soy sauce. And it just overpowers all your other flavors. Okay. All right, now that I got that in there, it's kind of cooked for maybe 30 seconds. I'll give it another minute or so. We're gonna add our rice. And I just have minute rice here. Uncle Ben, nothing crazy. You don't need any like really, really good rice. Of course, if you want to make it good fried rice, you need better rice. I mean, like really high end, but like, again, I'm looking at this as a way to use up stuff in my refrigerator and still make a pretty tasty meal. So at the point where that can all just get dumped in, and right when you dump it in, you really want to start this moving so nothing clumps up, everything gets coated. You don't have like, we're essentially recooking rice here, so you want to make sure that all of it kind of gets recooked evenly. So I do it kind of this folding method. You kind of come underneath and fold up over the top. And I'll get that back on the heat while this heats up. All right, and we're really looking to get a little bit of crispiness on this rice. And another reason you don't add too much soy sauce when I told you to is you'll have too much moisture in the pan and you won't be able to crisp anything up. It's a problem in, I guess, chemistry that it requires way more energy to evaporate liquid than it does to brown something, and browning something's the Maillard reaction. So that's why, like, food doesn't brown when there's liquid in a pan, because it's all the energy is going towards evaporating the liquid. I'm adding 2 eggs here. Now there's kind of different schools of thought on the eggs. I'm going to show you a way I really kind of like it, but there is a little pepper in there. Another way that works as well. We're going to use these eggs to kind of create like a silky coating on our rice. So just beat it. And I'll show you how to do that. A lot of what people do too is they'll, instead of doing this, they'll just add it to the pan and like have some scrambled eggs in their fried rice, which is also delicious. It's just not always the way I like it. So you see here, we're getting a little color on our rice. I hope you can see. You see there's some brown bits in there. So all I'm going to do is I kind of flatten it out. Right. And this way, as much of the rice as I can is touching the bottom of the pan. I have my stove kind of on medium-high, and I'll let that hang out for a bit. So this will be the last thing we actually end up adding to our rice. And we could do it when it's off the heat. And it kind of creates this really silky, smooth texture that I really like. So I'll show you how to do that in a moment. Once we get a little more color on our rice. I'm going to up the heat a little bit. Now, in terms of other things you can do with the fried rice, I'm going to add some sriracha to it because I like sriracha. I'm actually going to add it to it twice, right while we're cooking, and also while we're going to serve. So Now I'm not sure if you can hear my pan, but it's doing a lot of popping. Popping noises are evaporating, right? So that means we're getting rid of some of the liquid in the pan. And that's when browning is going to start to happen. So I'm going to come back over here. Let's take a peek. Yeah, there we go. You see I got that brown color on a lot of my rice now. We're getting some toasty goodness. So I'm going to do one more round of flattening this out and getting it on the heat. I'm going to do 2. At this point, I'm just going to add like a couple lines of sriracha to the top. Let that heat through. And then we'll get 2 more stirs on this and we're done. So I'm actually cleaning up now, which is something that'll make Mrs. Doc very happy. Because I'm quite a messy cook. And no matter how hard I try to clean up after myself, I don't do a great job. Maybe I'm just not that observant. But here we go. We did our kind of our one more. And you see if this is all shaking kind of at one time. That means you're getting a crust on the bottom, which is exactly what we want. So I'll give this a stir. Yeah, there we go. It's starting to look real good. What I'm going to do is just going to add my peas. Now, like I said, I had a frozen bag of peas, so there's peas in here. You can do cauliflower, you can do broccoli. You just do want some kind of vegetable in there. I think it really adds to the dish if it's very vegetable heavy. You know, even with some meat in there, you don't need a ton of meat. I just think you get different textures that I think are really good. So now, to finish it off, what we're going to do is we're going to add our egg. And I don't want this to set up like scrambled eggs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this, I'm going to keep it moving, and as long as I move fast enough, this will more or less like coat our rice. So I'm going to just pour it in there. You notice I'm off the heat. So I'm just going to stir it all together. And you get this like kind of crazy awesome texture if you do this right. And like some of you might be saying, well, you're not cooking the eggs. Well, the heat in this pan will cook those eggs. And also, it's likely that you're buying, what is it called? Pasteurized eggs at the store. So, like they are pretty much perfectly safe to eat raw. So you might have noticed this kind of has this kind of creamy texture now, and that's all from the egg right there. So I'm going to grab a fork, and we'll give this thing a taste, or I guess a spoon. We'll give this thing a taste. That's good. Use a little more salt. So I'm going to put a little more salt on it. You could taste the soy, but some of the other flavors aren't perfectly coming out. I'm going to add a little more pepper. Give that a stir. Give that a stir. Let's give this a taste. Yeah, that's good. So I'm going to serve myself a bowl of some veggie fried rice. Some veggie fried rice, and I'll have some of this for leftovers for lunch this week. And right on top, I'll add a little sriracha. Well, I hope you make that. Let me know how it turns out.